Hello to you. In a case that has strained relations between the United States and India and triggered diplomatic reprisals, an Indian diplomat has been formally indicted by a grand jury and asked to leave the US. Last month's arrest of Devyani Khobragare caused outrage because she was handcuffed and strip-searched. She'd been detained in New York on charges of visa fraud and underpaying her housekeeper, which she denies. India refused requests to lift her diplomatic immunity. She's now heading home. Tim Orman reports.
Devyani Khobragare, the Indian official at the centre of a diplomatic row. Formally indicted for visa fraud and making false statements, now heading home. Her arrest and strip search in December last year caused huge tension between the US and India. There were angry protests in Delhi. Security barricades outside the American embassy were removed, and there's even been a threat to restrict access to the embassy bar. But if US officials are upset, they're refusing to go public with their anger.
Are you disappointed by the fact that they have chosen the route that they have chosen?
I'm not going to address that. Any disappointment we have, we express privately, and we're addressing their concerns.
The young diplomat worked at the Indian consulate in New York. She was accused of underpaying her housekeeper and lying on a visa application, something she denied. Court documents show that she had been given diplomatic immunity. It's understood the US asked India to waive this immunity. Delhi said no. So then she was asked to leave the country. One consequence of all this, the postponement of a planned trip to India by the US Energy Secretary, Ernest Moniz. As for Ms. Khobragare, prosecutors say the charges against her will remain pending, and she would stand trial if she were to return to the US without diplomatic immunity. Tim Orman, BBC News.
The BBC's Beth McLeod in Washington told us the dispute has been very damaging to relations between the US and India.
Well, the departure of the Indian diplomat at the centre of this case may go some way towards easing tensions between India and the US. The relations between the two countries soured after Devyani Khobragare was arrested last month, accused of underpaying her domestic maid and then lying about it to the US authorities. And on Thursday, she was formally indicted by a US grand jury on charges of visa fraud and making false statements. But US officials asked her to leave the country after India refused a request to lift her diplomatic immunity. Now, this case, as you probably heard, has really caused a lot of outrage in India over the treatment of their diplomat at the hands of American police. She was strip-searched and handcuffed, and one Indian official described her treatment as despicable and barbaric. Now, since then, there have been a series of reprisals by the government in Delhi, for example, by ordering that a social club in the American embassy be closed. And in return, the US has announced the postponement of a trip by the Energy Secretary to India until relations between the two countries improve.
Beth McLeod in Washington for us.